This is Fred Beck from Fred Beck's Fighting. Today I'm very lucky to be joined by, once again, Andy Clarke. So Andy, what's been going on for you, mate? What have you been up to?
I've been to a few interesting places actually since I last spoke to you. So I was in Georgia a couple of weeks ago for the European Juniors, working for AIBA in Tbilisi, which is an interesting city. Good place to go. Good place to go. Been to Italy, Poland, um, covering amateur tournaments. I was at the Wembley Arena last night for Joyce. That was good. So yeah, just a few little different things over the last couple of months or so. A bit of time off as well. Haven't really been anywhere, but then I suppose, no one's really been anywhere. Well, I have been to places, but I haven't been anywhere on holiday or anything. I don't know. I just don't. With all the kind of hoops you have to jump through still, and all the PCRs and all the rest of it, and then self-isolating for 5 days when you get back. Although I've been double jabbed, so I wouldn't have to do that now. Going on holiday just seems like a bit of a gamble because you just don't know, like the rules might change when you're there, and oh man, it's just not yet anyway, not yet. How about you? What have you been doing?
Well, I work at a pub doing pot wash. I'm 17, so I'm kind of on my summer holiday now. And I just finished the first year of college, which is kind of the same thing as sixth form. And one of the chefs, I'm a kitchen porter, and one of the chefs tested positive for COVID. Now I got 10-day quarantine. I started watching The Boys on Amazon Prime. That's quite funny. And Vikings, they were quite funny and quite good as well. I'm watching the Olympics as well. I'm watching the swimming downstairs. I interviewed Fraser Clarke a couple of weeks ago, so hopefully he does well in them. Do you know when I think the boxing was it on today? The light heavyweights, was that on today?
So today in the GB fighters today, there was light heavyweights this morning. Ben Whittaker boxed at 6:30. Then Charlie Davison was on. She's flyweight, so that was 51 kilos. And then Luke McCormack was on. He's at 63, the new 63 kilo division. So the boxing. I've just managed to. I saw a tweet from GB Boxing the other day, and they were saying, oh, if you've got Sky Q, or Sky basically, then you can add the Discovery Plus app, and it's free for 12 months. And they've got everything. You just go on there, and they've got full coverage of every single sport. So I got hold of that, and that's perfect for the boxing because I don't think they're putting all of it on the BBC this time around. I don't think they're doing full red button for the boxing, as far as I can work out. I saw Fraser in the crowd yesterday, or was it yesterday? Yeah, supporting Peter McGrail, who lost unfortunately. This has been a long time coming for Fraser. He's been on that squad. He'll have said all this to you, but he's been on that squad a really long time, and he's been very, very patient. So, and then after waiting another year, I really hope it works out for him. I really hope it works out for all of them because Olympic sport can be really cruel. It's once every 4 years. It does matter what you do in the meantime, but for a lot of people watching it, it doesn't really. They're only aware of the Olympics, and then you've just got to hope that on the day it goes well. And in the boxing, in those 3-round fights, the first round is so important, and it kind of all that work almost comes down to that first 3 minutes. It's just so much pressure, it's so much pressure. But it's just good that it's happening, isn't it? I don't really think, by the look of it, that the Japanese people really wanted it, and I can understand that. But it would have been terrible if you've got all of those athletes from all these different sports going through all of that, and then it doesn't happen. That would be, I don't know how you'd ever get over that, really.
Yeah, very lucky we had our Olympics in 2012 when everything was fine. I imagine Tokyo been preparing the Olympics for 4 years, couple planning, and then it gets cancelled and thrown for another year, and there's barely any fans in attendance because of the COVID situation. Do you think you'd like to? I know Mike Costello and Steve Bunce, they normally cover the Olympics boxing wise, and Mike Costello does their athletics actually. Sorry, Steve Bunce does the boxing. But is that kind of dream or aim for you to cover the boxing and the Olympics?
Yeah, I would definitely like to do it. I've done a lot of work for the international governing body for AIBA World Championships and all sorts. And the only thing I haven't really done is the Olympics. I think I might have been close to doing some for the BBC 4 years ago. I've done some stuff for them. But big Ron McIntosh is their guy for the boxing. he's very knowledgeable on it. He's a really good friend of mine as well. So long may he keep that gig. But yeah, I would. Yeah, I would. I mean, I didn't really explore it for this one because by the time it I just didn't really get my act together in time for when it was supposed to be in 2020. And then when it got kicked back a year, I just thought you're probably not going to end up going. And I know that most of the BBC coverage, or loads of it that would be there, this time isn't there. And as much as it's part of the job to do stuff off TV these days, you would want to, for an Olympic Games, you would want to go. I mean, you would want to go. But yeah, it is slightly odd watching all these fighters who I know really, really well, and just not being involved in it. But you can't do everything that you want, can you?
Yeah, I know. 'Cause I think Steve Bunce, he's not even over there. He's commentating from it.
Gutted as well. He's I saw him last night, and
oh wait, can you do a favor for me? Can you ask him to unblock me on Twitter?
Yeah, okay, I will. I promise I will. What happened?
Basically, well, I didn't actually do any. I don't really say much on Twitter, but basically, I asked him for an interview. He said I should be 18, so I was like, okay. And I was like, oh, do you have any advice? Here's an interview I did at Peter Fury. If you have spare time, moment, please watch it. And he blocked me. So he must have been like maybe in a bad mood or had a hard day or something, He's
a good guy, Steve. Like it's that. Yeah, I think you just caught him on a bad day. He does. People tend to poke him on Twitter quite a lot. You weren't, but people do tend to, just to see if they could get a rise out of him. And every now and again, he bites a little bit. And I understand it. But he's a good bloke.
Yeah, it'd be a great interview. I always listen to this podcast with Mike Costello. That's great. So let's talk about the fight that happened last night. I was Adam Catterall's Instagram. I was going for Instagram. I saw his post, and I got the photo here. It's got you, Spencer, AD. I interviewed AD the other day. He's actually a really nice guy. And Adam. And you guys doing it for TalkSport. So you're not color commentators. You're doing it on the radio. Is that kind of weird having 4 commentators? Because normally it's just 3.
Well, when the fight's in progress, it's just me and Spencer. So Adam's the presenter, Addy's the co-presenter, if you like, and then when the fight's on, it's just me and Spencer Oliver, and they'll come in between rounds every now and again. It works well. Radio's, that's where I started. I did 10 years in radio at TalkSport before I moved into TV. Last summer, they asked me to start doing their boxing, and it's really good fun. It's different from TV. You've got all the time in the world to talk about stuff. I'm really enjoying it. Really, really enjoying it. It is different because it's not just that you can't not talk. Obviously, you can't have dead air on the radio. You've got to describe what's happening. It's easy just to talk. Anyone can do that. But when people are listening on the radio, you need to tell them where are they in the ring, what's going on. You need to be a lot more kind of visual. But I enjoy that. It's I've known Spencer for ages. Worked with him a lot, so that's really easy. Addy's a good bloke. Knows his stuff. Same with Adam. It's kind of TalkSport style. It always has been be quite irreverential, have some fun with it, and there's quite a loose framework. It's a kind of movable feast, but it's good. Yeah, it was really good fun. Really enjoyed it, and hopefully they're going to kind of commit to boxing and do some more stuff, because it was great to be back with the crowd as well. And we weren't quite ringside, but as close as I've been for the last 18, 19 months, which it just makes such a massive difference when you're there and you've got a crowd there. And it's just, it makes such an enormous difference.
Do you prefer being a commentator on the radio or on TV then?
I don't know. I'm much more used to TV for the last 10 years. There's plus and minuses. There's no minuses with either of them, but they've got different plus points. TV is, I like the fact that maybe you don't necessarily need to say as much, but you need to try and make sure that whatever you do say adds something. Now, that's something I really kind of concentrate on. I like to commentate on the fight. I don't like to just waffle on with spurious facts about things they've done in the past and what their favorite color is. I don't think it's relevant, and I don't think it's interesting. With radio, like I said, the thing is that you're really in the moment with it, and all of that kind of prep you do, that will all come into play when you're having the chat beforehand. When the bell goes, you don't have time to tell any stories. You've just got to be focusing right there on what is in front of you. And you do have to come up with different ways of saying the same thing. I mean, that's the same with TV, of course, as well. But with radio, you're probably speaking like 3 or 4 times as much. And you can get quite kind of, you don't want to take it too far, but you can get quite kind of, you can have a nice little flourish with it. You can get kind of quite poetic with it at times if the situation, requires it. Not every fight does, but yeah, it wasn't something I was really thinking about going back to be honest. And then when I was asked, I just thought, yeah, why not? Why not do that? So I'm off to, assuming it happens, I'm off to Fury Wilder in October, which will be an awesome week. And we'll see what happens with it. I'm always, I don't think you should ever kind of shut down any avenues career-wise. You might be quite focused on what you want to do and think, oh, I'd love to get that job, or I want to do this. But whenever somebody asks you to do something new, I think you should always have a good think about it, because you just never know where things might go.
Yeah, that's the thing. So right now I do creative media studies BTEC level 3, and next level the second year, and then do you go into a job or do you go to university? So yeah, if there's any work experience at TalkSport, feel free to let me know. So I thought I should already talk about the touch on the Joe Joyce and Carlos Takam fight. I'm being completely honest, I didn't watch it. I saw it on YouTube after it happened because I don't have BT Sport. But what are your thoughts on the fight, especially being ringside? And I think quite nice being ringside for once, because normally it's Sky Sports, you're up in the booth.
Yeah, it was great. I think BT Sport were quite close. Well, they were the same distance away as us last night. I think that's pretty much how it'll be. Maybe for the next couple of months, you'll be kind of like 10 yards back rather than in the kind of porter cabins, booths or whatever. And then eventually we'll get right back up to the apron. It was good. He is what he is, Joe Joyce, in that he's never going to be this kind of Lomachenko type matrix fighter. That's not going to happen. He is quite easy to hit. He was in the amateurs and he is in the pros. I thought he was too easy to hit last night. But there can be a number of different reasons for that. Often when you see fighters, particularly at heavyweight, but other weights as well, if they don't really respect the power that their opponent has got, then they don't do a particularly good job of keeping out of the way. They don't care enough about not getting hit, the hit and not get hit aspect of it. And I think that was definitely a part of it. I think he just thought, well, yeah, I mean, you're catching me with punches here, but so what? I'm walking through them and I'm going to get to you. And that's kind of what I was saying on commentary, was that Takam was winning the rounds. You had to give him the rounds because he was outlanding Joyce. But whilst he was kind of, I think the way I phrased it was, whilst he was winning the battles in those individual rounds, those individual battles, overall, you never got the feeling that he was winning the war, because at some point Joyce was going to get to him. He was making him work really hard. And he's very good to watch. I do wonder whether he can take that approach and have success against, that top tier of heavyweights, the 4 that we'll see at the end of September, start of October, and Chuck Dillian White in there as well. I don't think he can, but he's not necessarily going to box exactly that way that he did against Takam, against Usyk or Joshua or Fury or Wilder or Dillian White. We saw against Daniel Dubois that he did a pretty good job of staying out of the way of Dubois' punches for the main part, or riding them, at least half blocking them, because he knew that he carried real power. With Takam, I think he just didn't feel that he did. And that was one of the reasons why he got hit as much as he did. He just took a direct route from A to B, and he just thought, all right, you can throw whatever you want at me, that's fine, because sooner or later, I'm going to get to you. And that's what happened.
And I certainly did. I think it was in the 6th round, Joyce and Lee dropped him. A lot of people were saying it was an early stoppage. I don't think it was an early stoppage. I think that Joyce would have stopped him a few seconds later. But do you think it will stop prematurely, or do you think it was the right time?
No, it was the right thing to do. We were right there, but he just didn't throw anything back. He didn't throw anything back for too long, and that was why Steve Gray had to stop it. He didn't really have any choice, because he gave him every chance, I thought, because, okay, he didn't look like he was completely out on his feet, Takam. He was aware of what was happening. He wasn't a completely open target, although fairly open. But you could see that, you know, his wits were still about him. But he just didn't throw anything. And he literally just would have had to have thrown something, just wing one of those right or lefts over the top he'd been doing all night. It wouldn't really have mattered if it got particularly near Joyce or not. That would have shown the referee that he was giving something back, and he might have let it go on a bit longer. But as it was, you know, when someone's just taking unanswered punches off a massive heavyweight, you have to stop it, you know, because it's always better 10 seconds too early if people think it was than 10 seconds too late. I had no problem with it. I wasn't that surprised when Takam reacted the way that he did, and the corner kind of backed him up and shared that. But, you know, if you're the trainer in the corner there for Takam, you can't be letting that go on much longer. You shouldn't be anyway.
I know, but it's kind of the thing, when you get stopped, that's the only thing really to do. Like, kind of be angry at the referee, I guess. You see that quite a lot. I mean, you mentioned earlier you're thinking that Joe Joyce be out in the October period, kind of when Tyson Fury and Wilder got their fight. Who do you think the bigger matchup for him next? Because obviously,
I don't think he'll be out again that quickly. But, you know, he's roughly on the same kind of timeline. It's not too far removed. I mean, what, a couple of months or whatever. It's, yeah, I think they'll try and get him back out again, though, before the end of the year. And there's no way that Joshua Fury, either of them, are going to box again before the end of the year after their next fights. It's kind of a difficult one, really, with Joe, because he's now in that position, like I said, where he wants to be kind of next cab off the rank for a world title shot, and it'll be mandatory with the WBO. But, you know, that might not come into effect for ages, because, you know, Usyk's the mandatory with the WBO. So you'd imagine they go WBA, IBF, and then back round to the WBO again. There is always a queue, although it doesn't necessarily always work like that. But he's put himself up there as a contender, and he'll just need to stay there and hope that something falls for him. It might not, like it hasn't for Dillian Whyte. He has had some opportunities that he's knocked back, some final eliminators and things like that. And Joe will just... Joseph Parker, I think, would be an interesting fight for him. I mean, Dillian Whyte would be an amazing fight. Joe Joyce and Dillian Whyte would be great, but it's not going to happen. You know, we can talk about that kind of stuff as much as we want, but there's no way those two are going to get matched. But
what about Philip Havoc, the Croatian guy, Philip Havoc? Yeah, he's number one in IBF. Yeah. Pressurized for their title. When you're number one contender for the IBF, they always pressurize it, make sure you get that shot. What about that fight, do you think? For Joe Joyce?
I mean, that'd be brilliant, because they're old amateur rivals. They boxed in the amateurs. They came through the same Olympic cycle. They know each other really well. Stylistically, they match up perfectly. It would be brutal. It would be a really, really good fight. But I don't see either team wanting... What they will look at with that fight, they'll look at it and they'll just think, that's the kind of fight we would love to have, but in a year or 18 months for a world title, not in some kind of final eliminator. They would need something really solid to be on the line. And that's kind of where they both are, basically, Joyce and Hrgović. They're not going to want to take anything cataclysmic unless it's for a world title. The reward has got to be big. But I do think, like Joseph Parker, I think that could be a really interesting fight. You know, he got the win against Chisora, Parker, quite narrowly, looked good in spells, looked quite lazy in other spells. And he wants to get back into that real mix to box for a world title again. And if he were to beat Joe Joyce, then he would be, because Joyce is number one with the WBO. So he's got something that other people want, Joyce. It's just whether they want to just try and tread water, or whether they want to keep him really hungry and sharp and set him proper tests. It's not an easy decision, that, because when you get right up there, the temptation sometimes can be just to tick over, just to stay there. Don't risk that ranking, just stay there. But you can get quite, that could dull your edge if you do that.
And Sam Jones is a great manager. I think he'll be quite calculated in the moves he takes.
Have you had Sam Jones on yet?
No, I tried to send him an email, but no, what I've started to do now is, because I'm being honest, totally honest, I'm running out of people to interview, because there's only so many people you can DM and send an email if they got a website. So now I started to comment on the Instagram. Hi, my name's Fred Beck. Please check your GM, or hope you're well. You've got spent 5 minutes for interview. You got Sam Jones' email or anything?
I don't actually. I'm sure he'd do it though.
He's
I'm really,
like a good guy, Sam Jones.
I think he would. I think he'd do it. I think he'd do it. Maybe just keep trying, and you might catch him at the right moment. I mean, as in, he sees it, because I think he probably would do it.
What about Gareth A. Davis?
Gareth, again, if you catch him at the right time, I think he would do it. Yeah, I think
I like Gareth A. Davis. He's quite charismatic, He's got that character.
Interesting guy, definitely. He's one of the TalkSport team. He wasn't there last night, but he is normally. Yeah, he's a lot of fun. I think he'd do it if you. Again, it would just probably be a case of just every now and again, whenever it pops into your head, just send him a message, and at some point, hopefully, he'll be looking at his phone and he'll just see it.
Yeah, that's the thing. And that's why I always do like everyone again. And I've always uploaded quite a lot of clips. And what I've always found that I interviewed Ryan Rose a few months ago, and I've done him and Todd Grisham quite a few times on the new esports boxing club. You've heard of it, right?
Yeah, I've heard of it. Yeah.
You think because I spoke to Todd Grisham about the commentators. No, it was Ryan Rose about the commentators. He says that Adam Smith and Johnny Nelson are going to be in the commentators for the game. What about you? Do you think you'd be up for that, being a commentator in esports boxing club?
I mean, I don't know what it would involve. I wouldn't say that I wouldn't be, but I don't know. What it involves.
It would involve basically what it involved is you'd have to read off a massive script of loads of things to say. Basically, that's probably what it would be.
Well, that would just. I mean, this sounds a bit mercenary, but that would just depend entirely on what I get paid for it then. Really, because that's just like it's not. There's no real fun involved in that. I suppose the end product might be quite entertaining, that you're on a computer game or whatever, but I'm not really. I've never been one particularly to chase that those kind of sort of peripheral things, if you like. I just want to go to fights. That's all I'm interested in, really. Yeah,
I know the Fury fight going over there in Vegas in October. That sounds pretty good. Anyway, Andy, I don't take too much of your time today. Thanks so much for your time. And where can people find you on social media? Where can they find you on Twitter and Instagram?
Twitter, it's at Mr. Andy Clarke. Instagram's the same, I think. Yeah, I think so. I'm not massively active on either one, but I'm up for a chat every now and again on Twitter, Instagram. I've never really got the hang of taking pictures of stuff and videoing myself. I just don't get it. It just never occurs to me to do it. The one I really don't get is people filming themselves watching stuff, like like the Euros or whatever, like the penalty shoots.
The live reaction videos. I don't get that either, but it gets a lot of views though.
Yeah, I just don't understand. Like, why would you just watch it? Like, why are you spending your time filming yourself watching something? It's bizarre.
I know, but you get the YouTubers to that. I think Pep Talk do it in Seconds Out. I think the one in Seconds Out one got like 400,000 views. I kind of see, and AD does it as well, actually. I was kind of thinking that if you're waking up at 4 a.m. just to watch someone react to something, I would never do that. I'll just
no. I mean, if that's your thing, like if you're a YouTuber, YouTube channel, and you're really looking to build that, and that kind of thing gets you a lot of followers and stuff, then I get that. It's part of the industry. But you just see loads and loads of people do it. Like, and you just think, like, what? The thing that kind of fascinates me most about social media, in a sense, is the things that people seem to think that other people will find interesting just blow my mind. It's like, here's a picture of my breakfast. Like, why would I care about that? Like, I'm not offended by it, but what? So why would I care about that? But I don't know. I'm well aware that it's not really. I mean, it's useful. It's a really useful tool.
It's good. You think you're nearly on 10,000 followers on Twitter. It's good to promote stuff like your podcast, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good for that. And it's a really easy way to stay up to date, particularly for a sport like boxing, which doesn't get the minute. Well, when people would go to websites for their latest news, it never used to get the minute by minute coverage that other sports did. So it's a really, really easy way to stay up to date with what's going on. But it just, I don't know. I do find it genuinely entertaining. I was introduced to a really, really good word a few weeks ago. You probably heard this ages ago. But it's the art on Twitter of humble bragging, so someone basically just going on all the time about how humble they are, or a classic would be, oh, I've been nominated for this award, and it's just I'm so humbled by the fact that so many of you think I'm so amazing. It just, I love that word, a humble brag, because as soon as I heard it, I just was seeing it everywhere. Like, people do it all the time. Or I'll let you go in a minute, but it's hammering it down the rain on my window. I need to go and close it. But another favourite of mine as well is when people want you to know that they're doing something, but they don't just want to come straight out and say that they're doing it. So they're going away somewhere for work. So they'll tweet out a picture of their passport or a departure board or something like that. And I always just think to myself, just tell me where you're going. If you're going to Munich to work, just say that. Just say that. Just cut out the middleman and just tell us.
Wait, I've got one more question about Michael Benson. Would you go show your window quick? So Michael Benson on Twitter, he tweets every other minute. Is that all? Wait, what is he? I think he's editor or something for TalkSport. Is that all he does? Just tweet? Does he get paid for that or something? Because he just tweets every other minute on Twitter. Have you seen?
Yeah, I've not met him, but yeah, he's a TalkSport employee, and that's that. I think he does do some writing as well. I've never seen him at a fight or a press conference or met him or anything like that. But I mean, that's a very demanding, like that is relentless. What he does is absolutely relentless in terms of, you'd have to be on top of those feeds all the time. And I follow him. I actually find it very, very useful. I'll check it 4 or 5 times a day, because I know that if anything has happened of any note, it will be on his feed. Some journalists get irate with him because I think they don't really regard what he's doing as being of particular value, but I do see a value in it. I mean, I understand that it's not. I understand where they're coming from to an extent, but I remember, like, a little while ago, everybody just seems to get right on him because he wasn't crediting people for stories that he was tweeting out, and he started doing that. But I mean, he was by no means the only person who wasn't crediting people, but it just seemed to be him that attracted everybody's kind of wrath, if you like. But yeah, I mean, when I'm in TalkSport at some point, maybe I'll run into him. But no, I've never seen him. I've never seen him at a show or press conference or anything.
It's him and Mike Coppinger. You kind of compete. Mike Coppinger's now got that ESPN job from The Athletic. Does people just DM him stuff? But then I remember Eddie Hearn always mentions that Mike Coppinger DMs him if there's any news breaks. How does he find out about stuff so early? Do people just DM him from like other PBC or Al Heyman?
Yeah, I mean, you just. I mean, it's always sources with him, isn't it? But that is what journalism is. You need to have contacts. You need to have sources. You need to have people who will tell you things, tip you off about things before they've happened, send you the press release maybe a few minutes before they send it to anybody else, or whatever it is, because they know that you can get it out there because you've got a good reach. It's kind of a chicken and egg situation. Your reach then increases because you're getting that stuff. You get that stuff because they know that you'll put it out. I think the difficulty with it is in the kind of modern landscape is it's probably quite hard to kind of be that guy for everybody. It's quite tribal, boxing journalism now, or at least it can be. So I think inevitably you might end up being more aligned with a couple of promoters than maybe you would necessarily not like to be, but yeah, I think you probably, the promoter, how promoters are, they would like to think, okay, he's my guy, or she's my reporter. They'll do what they're told, but I can go to them and give them something. I know they'll get it out there for me nice and quick, and they won't, they'll maybe be quite favourable. That's what people are always after. But Mike will just have a load of good contacts, basically. I say just, that takes time. That takes time to build up, and he's quick off the mark.
Yeah, it certainly is. God knows what will happen if Mike Coppinger or Michael Benson, someone takes their phone and breaks it. Blimey, they'll be out for a good day or two. All right, Andy, you don't take too much of time. I've got nothing else to do because in quarantine. I have to go watch something, upload this. So Andy, thanks so much for your time, mate.
No problem.